Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Leafs Today. I'm Paul Hendrick, and I'm located in front of the Westin Bristol Place Hotel, site of the annual National Hockey League Combine. 104 of the top 18-year-old hockey players on the entire planet are here for a week-long evaluation and gauntlet process that takes them from interviews to physical evaluations, one major step, and a final step at that might eventually lead them one day into the National Hockey League. But before that, there is the upcoming NHL draft in Montreal at the end of June. As far as this process is concerned, well, there are changes from year to year, and no better to talk about that than the head of amateur scouting for the Maple Leafs, Dave Morrison. How different is the process, the kids from one year to the next? Does it provide a different perspective, or is it really much the same from one year to the next?
It's much the same, but it seems like the kids are getting bigger, stronger, smarter. They're just so prepared and poised and ready for these things.
How amazed are you when you look back, and I think this process may have begun in Pee Wee and even prior for these guys, that the polishing began, the process from there to where they are now and from where they want to be in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, we talked to them about their background, and you know, a lot of them right away start talking about Tyke and Squirt and Mite and Pee Wee, and it's really interesting because you know, for them, and they can, most of them remember their coaches and exactly the teammates they had, and it's great. It's such a great sport, and I think even myself, I remember those early days, and it is a process for them, and they get here for certain reasons. And it's funny because one of the other scouts was, we were just talking about one of the players that's testing as we speak, and when he was younger, the coach wanted to cut him from the team but couldn't because he was such a great kid. And now the kid is one of the better players in this draft. So it's, you know, he made it this far because he was a great kid, not a great player, and now he's become a great player. So that tells you a little something, too. So
a percentage of this entire process is about attitude, isn't it, and where these guys might eventually fit into your dressing room?
Well, that's a character. You know, I think, you know, that's become a huge part of this process. You know, over the years, it's certain things you learn, and character, attitude, passion, desire, determination. And they seem like common words, but if you apply them to the players, those are the guys that are going to get there. You know, and when they slip up in some of those departments, it's probably why they don't get there.
Is there a comfort zone looking back to last year, knowing that you're going back in with the 7th overall pick and it's identical to what this team was dealing with in Ottawa?
Lucky 7?
Yeah. And it was lucky. I mean, you guys knew what you were doing.
Yeah, it was great, and you know, of course, I think Luke possesses a lot of those qualities that I just mentioned. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and you know what, Brian, what we do leading up to that, I guess, you know, it's all open at this point still for everyone. So it's going to be interesting, and I'm looking forward to it. You know, I think we're on the right track here.
If anyone is participating in a mock draft, is really a moot point considering what might happen on draft day, but that there are a group of kids anywhere in that top 10 that might end up wearing the blue and white come the end of June?
Yeah, it's you can look at a bunch of different scenarios, so I think right now nothing's written in stone, so just looking forward to it.
Had a chance to interview Luke last year. You get a chance to interview his brother Braden this time around. Any similarities between the two guys?
Yep, a little bit, and a little bit different too. Yeah. You know, and actually we talked to Braden about that, and you know, I think he himself will say that he's a little different than Luke, and that's a good thing. So, and they both bring different things to the game, but yeah, they're similar and yet different, and it's a good thing.
Tell me about your team that will be going to Montreal, and the guys who have been on both sides of the Atlantic, visiting almost every arena possible, and the cohesiveness amongst you and your staff in getting this job done right once again.
Yeah, it's, well, you know, Tommy Bergman, who's, you know, our point man over there. Naturally, he's been taking care of a lot of the business over there. But, you know, our North American guys go over, and we look at the guys that he identifies, and you know, it's vice versa here in North America. So, yeah, they all come over and they look forward to it, and it's like our mini Stanley Cup for the Scouts, you know, on draft day or our playoffs. So it's a great process, and through it we do a lot of traveling. We sit in a car together, we sit in a plane together, we sit in the room after the game and talk about the players after, and it's a camaraderie and a communication and a trust you have to build with each other so that you all are on the same page in terms of what kind of players you want to draft, and and when we want to draft them. So, what rounds and what spots. So it's great. I really look forward to getting everybody together at the meetings and, obviously at the draft.
And while Dave and his able staff have been busy this past season assessing the upcoming hockey talent for the draft in Montreal, making sure these guys are in shape and ready to withstand the rigors of the National Hockey League falls into the Department of Strength and Development. That coach is Matt Nichol.
Most of the time, the other strength coaches in the league, we're sitting and watching. We're not really actively involved in the testing, but if there's any kids that maybe there's some question marks about their fitness or their health, this is an opportunity to see if there's a reason why maybe a player is not as strong a skater as they'd like. Is it something that can be developed with training or not? And just to sort of generally observe where these kids are at.
Can you gauge a player and maybe look at a guy who may be tall and slightly thin and see, hey, there's potential to put some weight and strength on this guy and get him ready for the NHL?
No, absolutely. And most of these kids are so young anyway, and a lot of them, especially the kids that have come through junior, maybe they haven't been training as intensely as the college kids, and certainly the European kids might fall into that category as well. So you're not looking at necessarily where they're at today, but where they could go.
And kids coming here in terms of being prepared, I know a lot of their seasons ended several months ago and they've not been playing hockey. How well prepared are they, and what's provided to them, do you think, at the junior and perhaps collegiate level to get them ready for this day?
Well, it seems to me like the kids more and more every year they're increasingly aware of what the combine's all about, and the kids come more prepared than they were the year before, and I really think there's no excuse for that. I think if there's an athlete here that's not prepared, you might want to ask yourself why that is. But most of these players now will have their own trainers and coaches that will help prepare them for the specific events of the day.
Do you think not being prepared physically can impair a player in terms of what his draft status might be come Friday or Saturday in Montreal?
I certainly think it's one factor that might be taken into the equation. But again, this is hockey. It's a skill sport, and the ability to play on the ice is the most important thing. But obviously physical fitness is a component, and increasingly more so every year, so it's certainly something that needs to be weighed into the decision.
You seem to get here early enough to get a certain spot in that room. Is there a method to your madness?
Well, I think maybe I've been doing this a little while, so maybe there's some seniority or maybe it's a hometown advantage, but yeah, there's certain tests that I feel have a lot of relevance and some that I don't, so I try to spend my time watching the ones that I think matters.
After the break, we'll talk to the head of Central Scouting for the National Hockey League, a familiar face for the past 5 years at this event, E.J. McGuire. Stay with us. Leafs Today will continue in just a moment.